Good morning. How is
Good
everybody
Good
this
morning.
morning.
morning?
Good morning.
Sunny where you guys are? Anybody? Are we,
Love love the hat.
it's sunny where I am. Who's got a win for us? Maybe personal, business, something to get us started.
I am putting an offer in today.
Okay, submitting offers is great. Getting them accepted is even better.
So
Let's go for that.
my question this morning is, of course, I'm putting in an offer today. The sellers have an open house on Sunday. So today, do I date it 24 hours notice to have a response back, or do I wait and put after the open house?
No, I think the conversation is, you got to get the listing agent on the phone and see if there's a way to get this open house canceled, right? I think that's where we've seen a lot of agents share experiences where they're able to get that offer accepted by, having a conversation, seeing if they're even willing to, go down that road. Some sellers are just, nope, we're doing the open house on Sunday. I don't care how good the offer is, but I think our most aggressive agents are getting that offer in and trying to get that open house canceled. And sometimes there's like a legitimate reason why we might need an answer prior to, right? There's another property that they're looking at, or I don't know, they're leaving, they're going to be out of the country, it's vacations are, during these months, that could be something that's going on. And so the offer's got to be, significant where a seller is willing to take the property off the table. So have you had that conversation yet, Sue?
No, because we saw the property like 7 o'clock last night when we were done, and the buyer called me back around 8:30. So, and it's a little bit early to call that agent this morning.
Yep. Yep.
So,
Yeah, but I think you got to get that agent on the phone. And, some people, like, you sit down with some sellers and they're like losing their mind about having an open house. And I don't want all these people in here. And you got to like convince them that, hey, I think an open house is in your best interest here. And so if that's the case with this seller, and all of a sudden you're saying to this listing agent, and she's like, oh, geez, they didn't even want to have to do this open house, right? So you got to have that dialogue. Anybody else want to chime in here on if you've had this dialogue, what you've said, how you've made it happen?
I did one probably, I don't know, a year and a half ago in Millbury, and my clients really wanted the house. Um, the guy and I had spoken several times about the property. He was from Sotheby's, I believe. So I was kind of worried because sometimes you worry that they're going to be snobby. But he wanted to go to the Cape for the weekend. He didn't want to have the open house. So I spoke with him and I said, what is your seller looking for? Is there any way we can get this, um, open house canceled? And what needs to happen? And he basically told me exactly what his seller was looking for. And he spent the weekend in the Cape.
Yeah, I think just having the conversation to just see what's going on. It's not going to work on every deal, but it can definitely work. Anybody else want to share an experience of getting a property, open house canceled, an offer accepted? I know there's some unique conversations that happen around there, so I'd love something specific. Martin, what do you got?
I'm actually working on one this morning. Same thing. We're trying to get it canceled. I spoke to the agent last night when I met him there. So hopefully, once we get this submitted, they'll do it. He's basically, it's up to his seller. That's what he told me. So, but we're coming in pretty aggressive. So hopefully they don't, they'll accept.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, look, part of the conversation needs to be around the leverage points that each client has, right? If I'm going to bring you this offer today, right? And I believe I'm bringing you a strong offer, but you're deciding, no, we want to wait for the open house. Well, if you wait for the open house and then you're still begging me for that offer, I know now that I've got the leverage, that I had a higher offer than I probably needed, and now my offer is going to be lower. Because I think that needs to be part of the conversation with the listing agent. Say, hey, look, your seller can absolutely wait. I understand the reasons, but you're kind of showing me your cards if you do wait, and now you're coming back to me for that offer. And so now the offer is going to be lower. So does your seller want to roll the dice? Do you want to get greedy here, or do you just want to take a sure thing? Right, Corey.
Yeah, I had one recently. I just got it signed last night. I have the buyers, they're friends of mine, and we heard about a property that's going up for listing. Found out who the agent was going to be because she put a coming soon sign up before she even put it in the MLS or anything. So I called her and I said, you know, what's going on? She said, yeah, they just want to clean it out and clean out the house and get it ready for the open house. I said, well, what are you going to be listing it at? And she gave me all the details. And I just basically said, what if I can save you the time of listing it, photographing it, videoing it, and even save the clients on the clean out and cleaning it up? Would that be something they'd be interested in? And a couple days later, she called me back and said, yeah, that's very interesting. She's coming into town. She has renters right now, but they're her family. So we went and saw the house. It was a mess. But we still put in an offer above list, waiving inspections and doing everything we needed to do. And she told me no, because the agent wanted to go to market the property. But I said, you know, please submit it to or give it to your client. And she did. And I got a call back the next day saying she's willing to counter now. So she countered and then we met in the middle. So now the woman who lives in Florida doesn't have to clean out the house, doesn't have to do anything, doesn't even have to go to listing. And we got the offer accepted, and it's not even hitting the market. So it's just really all about, like you said, Steve, it's the leverage, it's the savings of knowing what's going on, the asking the questions, and just diving a little deeper. Why wait?
Yep. Question. Who is it? Amber.
I've been on the other side of this as well. I had listed a property as a coming soon, deferred all showings to open house. I had multiple calls as soon as it hit coming soon. Everybody wanted to see it. I said, can't do that. Showings are deferred. So I ended up getting an offer on day one prior, obviously the first day of coming soon, from an agent who wanted it for her client. It was over asking, but it was like $100 and then 900. So it was like $1,000 deposit. There was no inspection waiving, no anything. So I had gone back to her and I said, listen, and it was a sight unseen. I said, I don't know if your clients can get to the open house. They're from New York. So, and this was downtown Springfield. Some people may not realize where it is. It just wasn't a good enough offer. So I did go back to her and I said, listen, we're going to hold the open house. I said, unless, you can come back with better terms, it's not going to happen.
I mean, one thing I will, obviously mention, when you read the coming soon or the deferral of showings forms, they are very clear. And I want to talk to you guys through a scenario of how you can get yourself into some trouble. They are very clear about showing the property. I don't know, and I don't know if somebody's in front of the computer wants to pull it up, at least for MLS PIN or something, but I don't know if they say anything about offers, but they are very clear about not showing the property. And so here's the scenario where you can get yourself into some trouble if you have the deferral of showing signed, right? So you have deferral of showing signed, it's been submitted, it says we're not going to show the property. And this happened early on when this deferral of showings thing became a thing. Buyer calls up and wants to see the property, right? And I don't remember if it's like through an agent or not. but wants to see the property. We're in deferrals. We say we can't show it. Buyer gets a hold of another agent. This agent gives sob story to the listing agent. They're going to be out of town when it's coming to market on Sunday. They're going away for 2 weeks. Can't you just let them in and, and then we'll write an offer. Lets them in. Yeah. And then I think that's what happens. Lets them in. And then now first agent finds out about it. Right? First agent follows up with the buyer. Hey, we going to the open house? No. I got a hold of another agent and they let me in. Right? So if we're going to do coming soon or we're going to do deferral showings as a seller, we cannot let anybody in the property. And we need to make the seller aware of by choosing this option. That's what's going on. Right? So, an offer comes in and you want to now, so now if an offer does come in, you're stuck with potentially trying to accept something sight unseen. Because in theory, you can't let that buyer see it. Right? So Corey, in your situation, if the proper docs were signed, that listing agent actually shouldn't have, done those things. They did what they did. You're in the position that you're in, but so let's be careful when we're on the listing side about, what you can and can't do because,
Yeah, maybe
I
didn't make that clear, but yes, she did not do the deferred sign. She put a coming soon sign up illegally or against regulations.
Gotcha.
So it wasn't even in the MLS. It wasn't anywhere.
Gotcha. Okay. Nicole.
I think this is what you were questioning too, Steve, but can you legally accept an offer and just never go live if you've already picked a go live date and done deferred showings or coming soon?
I just pulled up the doc and read it. And in Massachusetts, the delayed listing coming soon form that we do use says unless a seller requests that they do not see the offers until the go live date, that they all must legally be presented to them as they are received. So
Yeah. So if they must be presented, then they also must, have the ability to get it accepted. Right. Yeah, and I thought that was the case. I thought, I don't know if it's state by state or not, but I thought, if there's an offer, you've got to present it. A seller cannot know that there is an offer on their property. They've got to be made aware. So I guess in this case, I understand what you're saying, Lauren, unless they said specifically, hold them. I don't want to see them,
yeah, that's my understanding. Exactly like you're saying. Even if you're in that coming soon or deferred showings, if offers come in, they must be presented unless you have something that from the seller that says, do not show me offers until we're live. So I take it the way you do that. You can also accept something in that time frame.
But it's dicey because in theory, you should be accepting something that the person has not seen because it does clearly state in there that you can't show it. So, and I'm just never a fan of accepting an offer from somebody sight unseen. So there's got to be extreme circumstances where that's necessary because, there's just houses are so unique. You get inside and you're like, oh, I didn't, the pictures didn't really show that, or the virtual tour didn't really show that. And now all of a sudden they're backing out when you lost all the momentum. There's definitely momentum when a new property is hitting the market, even in a market where, properties are sitting a little longer, when we get more to a normal market where you're seeing 3, 4, 5, 6 months of on market time. If a property is still priced right and a new property hits, there's still a buzz about that. So we don't want to miss that buzz. We've got to be very careful to vet these buyers, vet the lenders, ask all the questions. We've got all the questions in our Zendesk article about what are those things that you should be asking a listing agent. Is this a first time home buyer? Have they ever backed out of a deal before? If they backed out of a deal before, why was it? Did they back out because they, because of mortgage and now they fix it? Did they back out because of inspections? No, they backed out because of inspections. What was the issue? If it's a bunch of ticky-tack stuff, like let's say they're not going to do that again on your property. If it's, hey, we got in and found out there's a crumbling foundation. Okay, like that's normal to back out because of something like that, right? So why did they back out? So just really grilling a listing agent. If we're going to do something, weird, like accept something early or without showing. Like, we've got to really make sure we understand the buyer. And even when we've got a regular situation, we got to be talking to this listing agent and getting as much information about the buyer. I was talking to an agent yesterday about when we're pricing these things, the beauty of coming to market at a number where you're going to get multiple offers is when you come to the market and you're overpriced, you're basically chasing the market down, chasing, and eventually, boop, we get an offer, right? The problem is we're stuck with whatever agent submitted that offer, whatever buyer in their financial position, whatever lender they're going to use. So we've got no leverage to try and change any of that stuff. Whereas if we could come in at a number that we know we're going to get a few people interested, so we get 3 offers, right? On one of them, we like the agent, really experienced agent. You've done a deal with them before. The second one's the highest number. And the third one's maybe got like a lender that you really trust. And now you can go back to maybe the agent you want to work with and say, hey, look, I'd love to do another deal with you, but I need you to be at this number, and man, the lender that you're using, right? And so now we've got leverage. And now in an ideal world, I get the agent that I want to work with at the price that I want to work with a lender that I know can close the deal. So it's really important that we explain to a seller, here is the risk. We can do that. We can go needle in the haystack and we can take our time. But when we take our time, we drop, boop, get the one and everything that comes along with that one versus having options. Any other questions on deferral of showing, coming soon, trying to get an open house canceled? Any other, words that you've used, or, anything coming to mind about how'd you get that listing agent to cancel that open house? I mean, when we're representing the seller, it's got to be a real extreme scenario for us to not expose this property to the market. That's my take. We got to get to that open house on Sunday or Saturday or whatever day it is. What's the counter argument? Where's the scenario? How about somebody on the call that's canceled an open house, and here's why? Anybody have an open house that canceled? Offer comes in and you canceled it. I think kind of the scenarios that Corey's kind of talking about. You know what? That seller doesn't want to have to do any of this stuff, clean the property out. They're out of the area. There could be some times, but man, it just seems like maybe some of the other buyers that are going to come on Sunday would be willing to do some of that same stuff. The message that I had for you today was around a concept that was introduced to me by Bill Perkins. So Bill Perkins wrote a book called Die with Zero. And one of the concepts that he talks about in the book is memory dividends. Memory dividends. So he refers to this as something similar to why everybody in the financial world says, hey, you should start investing early, invest early. You get the compound interest, you get the dividends that are going to start coming out of some of these investments. And the same thing happens with memories, right? We do something, but we don't just get the enjoyment at the time that it happens. We get the enjoyment multiple times thereafter by retelling the story to somebody, seeing photos from that event, right? And so his argument is that we've got to really look at our bucket list of things, and then when in our lives are we going to do it? And oftentimes doing it a little bit earlier in your life and maybe doing it on the cheap or something like that it's going to bring you that much joy for the rest of your life, especially with all the technology that we have today, whether it's Google Photos or Apple Photos or Facebook Memories. I don't know if Instagram does something with that, but that stuff always puts a smile on my face when I see some old photo or an old video or something that I've done in the past, whether it's me, my wife, my kids. It just puts that smile on your face, and he was just advocating that you take a look at the stuff that's on the list, and then also take a look at it to see if there's any physical requirements on your body that he would be working. He was in a financial planning role for a while, I believe. And so he'd be working with a client that's trying to save up all this money, or, when they retire, they're going to go on these trips. And he's like, if you think about the people in retirement, they're typically more lounging on the beach than, trekking up a mountain or traveling across Europe. Those things take stamina, they take energy, they take, there's hills and, stairs and stuff that you got to go up and down. And, so it's just a nice little reminder, I think, to try and take a look at some of the stuff that you would like to do in your life, and then look at a timeline, especially if there's going to be a physical requirement that, hey, maybe I need to move this thing up on my timeline. Or if it's, some people are into some like extreme sports and stuff like that, and you're planning this, I don't know, heli skiing trip. Are you going to be able to do heli skiing when you're 60? Or should, yeah, it's an expensive trip, but maybe should you try and bucket something like that a little bit earlier in your life? So I just thought it was a good concept. Hopefully it hit home for somebody, or it at least makes you think about this stuff. That the memories, they definitely pay dividends over time. And so trying to get as many of these experiences in our earlier days, I think is something that we should definitely be striving for. So anybody have any thoughts on this topic? Margareta, you're muted, Margareta, or did I lose you?
Oh, sorry. Yes. So another thing about the dividends thoughts, when you start something, let's say you take the trip that's, something you would normally consider doing later, it will change you. And that would spark other things that might propel you to do if you versus waited till the end of your life, or whatever you call that. So it will impact you in a way that you just will open your eyes, your mind. Maybe you will meet somebody along the way. And, I love traveling, and traveling just always, educates you. So it will change you ultimately. So you got to put that impact in there too, that, you might be upset that you waited too long to really go forward.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. One of the other things that he brings up is the cost, right? And not only do we have inflation and stuff is going to cost more as time goes on, but oftentimes, if you're somebody that's starting a family, or you have additional responsibilities, you've got a dog, a cat, or whatever animal that you have, it starts to get more difficult. That that trip to Europe was going to be just you, or it was going to be you and a significant other. Now all of a sudden you're flying a family of 5, and so there's a cost factor too to some of the stuff. So I think it's an interesting concept to kind of look at that bucket list. What are those things, and where do they fit into the timeline, instead of just having a bucket list that's all there and there's no timeline to it. Anybody else have any thoughts on this, or we want to switch back? We got a few minutes. Does anybody have a real estate question, a win, a share, something on a deal that's going on? Jen.
I have a question. So it's not about that though. Is that all right? I missed
Yeah,
it.
we're open. Let's go.
So I have a listing and some offers were coming in, and then this one agent says, she gets to the property and she's like, "Oh, I don't have a Supra. Can you meet me?" She's there. I'm like, "Did you not see the confirmation, like what the entrance was?" And she's like, I gave up my the E key. I don't do that now. I'm like, well, let me see what I can do, because we had a contractor combination there too. But anyways, that's how this started. So then she ends up messaging me, "Oh, my buyer loves it. We're putting an offer in." Great. I look forward to it. So then she says, "Can you tell me if there's a buyer's agent compensation and if there's any disclosures. And I'm like blinking, like, are you kidding? And I'm like, yeah, they should all be on there. And she goes, oh, I don't have Connecticut MLS anymore. I go, so where are you an agent? She's like, Massachusetts. I said, okay, so there's nobody that can share that information with you. So in the meantime, I'm downloading it. I'm sending it over to her just to do it. So then now I'm leaving and she goes, can you send over a contract too for me to fill out? Like, has anyone ever dealt with that? Am I supposed to be nice still? I was like, I just felt like I was missing something. I'm like, never had that happen. And I would never do that as a buyer's agent even. Um, so I mean, yeah,
Well,
I sent it.
the first thing I would think is she even licensed? Did you find out if she has her license?
So I looked her up and it looks like it's her brokerage. It's one property in Massachusetts. It's called, or property
Right, but
one.
does she have a Connecticut license that's active?
She said she did, but I didn't
Yeah,
go look.
I think. Yeah, at this point, I might check just to see if she has an active Connecticut license because I don't I don't know. I almost feel like Connecticut. I don't think you can have an active license unless you're associated with a brokerage. I think it goes to inactive. Nicole, I'm seeing your hand up. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's right, Steve. I was just going to say that has happened to me before in Connecticut with a Massachusetts agent. So just check in the MLS, Jen. You'll be able to see if she's an active agent in Connecticut. If not, then she can't do the transaction, obviously.
It was
Yeah,
so
yeah.
ridiculous. Like, but okay.
Yeah, I've had someone do the exact same thing, ask if I can send the offer, and they'll just fill it all out. They're licensed in Mass. I'm like, it doesn't matter. So just check
Yeah,
it out in the MLS.
I had long blinks. I was like, am I missing something? So, all right. Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah. And then, you could always say, hey, look, I don't see an active license, so you can't practice. I can pay a referral fee out to you. Right. And you could, at that point, you could either do that you represent the seller or you could do, a disclosed dual. But yeah, those would be the options. We could find another agent that could represent her, but, she can't be actively practicing it without a license. That's a great question though, Jen. Any other, but, and back to the original kind of part of like, should you, continue to be nice? And I think, the answer. Yes, you're going to continue to be nice, assuming she has an active license. I have, multiple times literally done the entire other side of the transaction.
I didn't mean should I be nice. I
Yeah,
should.
I know.
Yeah, I meant
Yeah,
like,
but continue to
do I keep
all of
doing
it.
all that for her?
Yep.
Yeah.
All of it. Because at the end of the day, the reason why I say do all of it is your job is to represent your seller and get this property sold. And if this is the best offer on the table and you're able to vet the lender and, then yeah, we got to get this thing to the finish line here. So, yeah. All right, guys, we are up against the clock. Appreciate all the input today. A couple of great questions from you guys to kind of get our minds going. So appreciate when you guys are coming with some ammo, fire some questions. Go have yourselves an awesome Wednesday. I hope it's as sunny where you are as it is where I am today. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys again in the morning.
Are we having an office meeting today with Jay?
I'm not aware, Lauren.